How is up, everyone? It's your boy, a talking marshmallow. And today, we're going to have a little talk about the wonders, that is, Saint Seiros. So, Seiros is our new mythical hero, and she seems to be very interesting and can bring about some changes in the meta to come. And that is because she has some very interesting abilities that we will now look at now. So, her weapon itself is not really anything that interesting. It's a one of these weapons where, oh yeah, when you attack, you get follow-up. If somebody attacks you, they cannot follow up, that sort of thing. Although this one's a little more selective, so you can't just block someone's follow-up and then pay them back with a guaranteed follow-up attack of your own. And when you attack, you can't stop the enemy guaranteed attack unless you put your mirror impact into use. So, Saint Seiros here is a very combat-oriented mythic hero. And that by itself, in general, is not a mythic hero that I would normally summon. However, since she's a new mythic hero, she now can use the extra slot that comes in, and being that, all your other units that get blessed by Anima now gets another 5 health and 3 attack. So that's pretty considerable, especially for my 5 Duma defenses. Now, that being said, she comes with another fun skill, but we will talk about Dragon Wall in a second. Let's talk about the Wings of Light. The Wings of Light, originally I was going to dismiss it, but then I looked at it more carefully. I saw, oh, snap, during combat, because originally I saw it as, oh yeah, you get attack speed, def res as a visible buff. Visible buffs are nasty, no good, mean bad. You don't want to have those anymore. Those are things that will hold you back. They are liabilities. Unless, say, you have someone like Sarah that can cleanse it for you. But even then, when you have to deal with an enemy phase, you might not have something that can cleanse a panic or something like that right away. So visible buffs, bad news. But Wings of Light does not provide visible buffs. It provides in-combat buffs. And that's the scariest part about it. Because attack, speed, dev, res, +2, +X. In other words, you start at all stats at +3 in turn 1. That's deplorable. And then you build up to turn 5. I have to say, 7 to all stats is pretty scary. But this effect is only effective if the team includes 3 or fewer mythic heroes, including the one himself. So Seiros is a unit that you want to use just by herself. And you might want to run something like Thrasir, who I believe is probably the best unit for that. I'm thinking about Lif as well, but Lif is kind of iffy. Still, he'll be decent enough. Mirabilis, okay, but she's mainly just doing dancing. And then there's Duma. I've been thinking about improving my 5 Duma defenses. And this could be one way of doing it. However, because of the 3 or fewer mythic heroes limit, I have to be careful. But then again, generally people will start killing off my Duma by then, and well, if they do, they'll come across a nasty surprise. They'll realize that these Dumas will grow in strength as they lose fellow Dumas. In fact, I think this might even be story-based. It may have some lore to it, because Seiros gets stronger when all of her friends friends and family start dying at the hands of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. So when Nemesis started going and doing the bad things, Seiros gets stronger, and eventually Seiros got on top of him and stabbed him repeatedly over the face and over again. Kind of died. But you know, that kind of stuff is, I think, around Seiros' alley. And because of this could make my defense much, much more scarier than I originally planned. However, you can only have 2 minions that can get it, and she herself cannot get this buff. That's the main problem with this thing. Since that is the case, she will have some weaknesses. She needs to be on the field in order to provide this, well, this ridiculous in-combat buff that seems to stretch across the entire map. It doesn't have any limitation to it, so I assume that's the case. Until the one day they're like, oh yeah, the translation is wrong. It's supposed to be 2 spaces around the unit. I highly doubt it'd be that though, because that would make the skill really useless. But generally though, now you have something amazing you can use outside of Aether Rage as well. I've been planning to use my This for something outside of the field. And now I have something like this, the Wings of Light. For 5 turns, I can have amazing stats all across the board, and there's nothing they can do about it. Sothis is the kind of hero that uses all those stats, so that would be really nice. It's not limited to Aether Rage, so that's the best part about it. I've really been waiting for something Mythic Heroes to perform outside of Aether Rage as well. So Seiros is one way of going about doing it. Now, as I've said earlier, Seiros has a weakness, and that is that she doesn't get the buffs. But that's okay, because she comes with the Dragon Wall. The Dragon Wall is a new technique that is basically close call, but for res, and it doesn't have any other additional effects, which is... I'll be honest with you, I still use close call on my God Beeler, because close call, I can walk out, slash someone, and then immediately return back to my former position of tanking a choke point. That is something that is very tactical, and the 5 extra damage from Spurn is nice, but something like this, where you can march out, sally forth, take out someone, and still maintain your defensive line, is very valuable. Dragon Wall does not provide any of that. The only thing Dragon Wall is for is so that your dragons can get it. That's about it. Still, calculating resistance is a tricky business. I've been thinking about it. When I was eating my dinner, I was thinking about, who would benefit most from dragon resistance? Dragon damage resistance. So I looked into it. I, of course, took a look at this list and organized it from res. And the main candidates are the likes of Winter Fae, Nagi, Halloween Deaconcy, Spring Idun, Halloween Robin, Milla. Milla would be particularly useful for this. I'm thinking about something like this, okay? Now, I've been talking about this for a long time now, but now it is time to put it into action. I've been thinking about building a War Dragon team. War Dragon team so that I can put Nagi to use. Now, I have something even better for Nagi, and that is that Dragon Wall nonsense. So, one of the main things about Nagi that I've been worried about is, what am I going to do if the enemy has resistance? Have damage effectiveness against my dragon type, my armor type, and will rip me in half. Well, I can stack a whole bunch of defense, a whole bunch of resistance, and then on top of this, a 40% reduction. Nagi's already got 80% reduction to AoE attacks. So when that happens, an AoE attack from Lilina or Ophelia or some weird shit comes up, they'll do nothing. Well, okay, maybe not nothing, but they'll do very, very little damage. It'll barely tickle. And that is something worth looking into, because eventually maybe they might introduce more AoE-based strategies. Although I haven't seen AoE-based strategies in a while, Ophelia is something I see like every so often. And as I expected, that legendary Lilina was no good. Not many people I fought ever used that nonsense on me, and when they did, they died. So, AoE stuff, that is why I feel kind of bad for Nagi at times, because her AoE effects on her Ethereal Breath does not work so often. But this damage reduction is very handy because you also have counter to colorless, and generally, someone who uses Deadeye is a colorless archer, like Xian Hitler or in my case, Legendary Alm. I haven't yet seen anyone who does that, which I thought is kind of stupid. But then again, I'm always inventing new skills and techniques, so, whatever. It's such a waste not doing it on Alm, because Alm can pierce defense, and when your defenses are pierced, then you add a Deadeye on top of that, the damage is astronomical. You can kill a lot of things. But, don't listen to the crazy Lu Bu. I mean, Lu Bu just, invents strategies, have the money to spend on strategies. Don't listen to him. Like, people like, oh yeah, the Brave Ike is bad. Yeah, you never have enough speed. Yeah, and then guess who's got, like, fucking 60 speed? Ripping their fucking defenses apart. And making them regret ever facing me. Losing all their points. They could have stayed in tier 38, but not if I come streaming through with my Supreme Ultimate God King bike. But anyway, that's not what the topic is about. Well, I suppose it's kind of similar, because Nagi is now going to embrace damage reduction. However, that in itself is also another problem, because it's a B slot. And a B slot means that my special fighter is... She even comes with special fighter, okay? So I would really like to use special fighter with her. But she actually has very sizable defense and resistance in of herself. So it's kind of a waste if we were to throw it away because of some damage reduction. But 40% is not merely just some damage reduction. It is quite considerable. And that is why I've been thinking. Maybe I can use Quick Repose or something like that. And, hold on, I just realized I've been playing this fucking track for like 10,000 years, and I realize why, because I haven't set it to random. Anyway, this is my beautiful bar music. I absolutely enjoy it, and I kind of wish that I had fixed this ahead of time. But I was listening to certain tracks of music so that I may find one that sounds really good to put into my video to use after listening to it like 20,000 times. But anyway, I think Nagi is a good candidate for it. But the problem now is that I need to figure out what to do about guard, because special fighter is just that, special. Losing it means that running it on an armor unit is kind of silly, and that's, of course, provided if armor units can even use it. But let's just say that they do. I would say, perhaps let's do something like this. How about we were to give her Quick Repose? She's gonna need that Quick Repose. She's gonna need something to do it anyway. She's gonna have to anyway with that special fighter. So she's always gonna have Quick Repose. And then on our B slot, we're gonna have that damage reduction. And we're gonna provide backup in the form of, let's say something like this. Let's go with New York, Gloria. Now I have a use for her. Now I can give her breath to infantry, or just any breath to an armor unit, armor dragon. Ah, interesting, very interesting. Now that would allow me to use my damage reduction nonsense. That would make Nagi a lot more durable and can probably tank through a whole slew of unnecessary things in Aether Raids. It's just too bad, though, that Valoria is a beast and not a dragon, because then they could have supported each other with Ward Dragon, and they can dual tank. But unfortunately, that is not the case, unless there's some racist skill out there that can link those two together, because, there are people who doesn't care much for subhumans and group them in the same group, even though, birds are birds, cats are cats, and dragons are dragons. And they all become little girls in the end, but you know what I mean. To those guys, they don't want them together. But anyway, point I'm trying to make here is that Nagi is very good for this, but we need to make some preparations for it. In terms of getting the guard back, we're going to have to, use Ruse or something and spread it onto the enemy defense team. And that has its own weaknesses as well, because if the enemy were to, say, use, I don't know, Sarah, and not many people use Sarah, thankfully, only the chosen ones, such as myself, uses Sarah. And those guys who remove the debuffs like that is kind of difficult to deal with. Good thing I never have to deal with them, because nobody's smart enough to use something like this. So anyway, I think that's one way I can use Nagi in such a way. Otherwise, Spring of Dune is also pretty good. Winter Sodis is very, very good. She even has the speed to back it up. I mean, 35 resistance isn't like terribly high these days, but when you really think about it, alright? Let's turn on the dragon thing. How many people really have that many kind of resistance? Let's see. There's Ronin Warrior, Raphael, Faye, Nagi, Julia. Okay, alright. Julia would destroy the shit out of Nagi. Julia would destroy Nagi, beat her like a redheaded stepchild. Oh, Altina actually has some pretty good resistance. Now that's going to be a problem. Altina is going to be a serious problem. Not to mention Altina already has twin blades, so she's going to chop up Nagi as well. Though haven't seen too many Altinas on defense, there is a couple people who do run it. And when you run into something like that, you're going to need to have an answer. But luckily, you know, Winter Altina is the type of unit that are generally dual skill reliant. So she'll probably be carrying her no counter, that kind of stuff. So you just need to bring out a blue unit, take her ass out, call it a day. Because otherwise, Winter Altina's going to have her for dinner. Now, I don't know what else would be a serious threat. Oh, I suppose Legendary Lilina could actually bypass the old resistance things. Well, not bypass, but at the very least have enough resistance so that your damage reduction is limited in scale. But it doesn't fucking matter if you're using it on Nagi anyway, because Nagi just fucking destroys that. Nagi is incredibly scary, okay? Like, that thing will counter so many colorless archers, it's crazy. Ugh, don't want to have to deal with that. Let's see, who else have high resistance? Plumeria, Winter Saphiran! Seriously, Ronin Warrior has the highest resistance? That's crazy. Ooh, that's another nasty one. So, if you're going to use Nagi, I think you should probably find some way to increase your resistance further. I think that would be a good way to go about doing it. And that is why Board Dragon setup would probably be how I go ahead and play my Nagi if I ever use her as a main tank. I know I've been just kind of fixated on Nagi for a bit, but that's really one of the best choices for the matter. I mean, Halloween Dagency, that guy is kind of rare. Spring of Dune, that one is also rare if you never summon on her banner. Or did she ever appear somewhere else? Because I don't remember. She might have reappeared like one of the rerun banners. And I don't know if she appeared in like legendary mythic banners. She's definitely kind of rare. And there's Halloween Robin, which is recently released, so also rare. Winter Phase also rare, and is weaker than Nagi. Milla, I think, would be the second best option for this. In fact, turning Milla into a tank might not be such a bad idea. Then you can use Milla for the sake of disrupting enemy dancers, and on top of this, you can go ahead and tank. I think a 2-tank formation in Aether Raids may be something that I will end up doing, because if my defenses caught on, that stupid defense where I just kind of roll someone out and have them try to overwhelm the enemy by turn 1 or 2. Now, if you have 2 tanks, that might be a lot harder to do. So I might look into doing that, which also makes me kind of sad, because then I probably won't be able to run that defense anymore. But that's okay. That's okay. I can always invent new defenses. It's not a big deal. Especially now, we were just talking about Seiros. Seiros and her 2 minions will be very interesting to deal with if they have 7 to all stats. So I may have to invest on a powerful Mythic Hero that is strong in actually defending. Lith is just an infantry, and infantry has some limitations, but an infantry mage, like Thrasier on the other hand, would be very handy. So I've been thinking about maybe summoning for more Thrasiers, but that's something that we have to consider. Like I said, it's only for Mythic Heroes, and Mythic Heroes are a bit of temperamental because they don't get buffs of their own, and they are very hard to match HP. If say you're using Sarah, they're very hard to match attack if say you're trying to use Grand Scratcher or some kind of attack opening nonsense. So these guys are a little temperamental, and running multiple of those, like 3, would mean that it's going to be kind of hard for you to match HP. I'll tell you that much, since you get like 15 extra HP. Never mind the attack. So it's going to make things a lot less uniform. But that's my problem. That's something I have to deal with. For normal people, I don't have to put up with that nonsense, man. And that's something that I do. In any case, that's pretty much all there is to talk about with Dragon Ball and Wings of Light. Aurora Breath, like I said, it just makes your combat oriented. That's cute, but that's something that isn't exactly new. And I think that with the idea of Dragon Wall, the faster dragons probably could benefit from something like Flame instead. And, no, when I think about it, I was just talking about it. Well, then again, damage reduction does stack. But let's get back to this. So, on this banner, it just so happens that the key units we need are there. Key units being Thrasier, Lith. Well, he's not mythic, that's unfortunate. But these two will be very handy to serve alongside with the evil forces of Seiros. But here, Flame in particular, I think is the best one. See, we just had talked about damage reduction, so we use Flame to give even more damage reduction. So we have damage reduction on top of damage reduction, so we can damage reduction while we damage reduction. I think that might be one of the reasons why I might not even run Dragon Wall on Nagi and run that with Flame instead. But then it's only 30%, and compared to 30, I can't remember the percentage. It's like 50 something maybe. So that's a considerable difference in terms of taking less damage, so I have to consider my choices and think about it. Because Flame is just so powerful. Flame is the best unit. And when you run damage reduction with Flame, the only problem you have to worry about is the likes of Brahmimon. There's no one else who can cancel outside help as of this time. So something like Flame can change the battle dramatically. Using that with Dragon Ball really is probably overkill, but sometimes in Aether Raids a little overkill goes a long way. So I might end up, well, I already have Flame, so I guess it's not. Let's see. If I were to summon though, I kind of want an ear because I find myself needing ear again because bonus units and whatnot on my Aether Raids. If I want to stay in tier 38, I'm going to eventually need to get another ear because I sacrifice all my ears to build infinite miracle builds. So yeah, I'm gonna have to summon one. She's not gonna be for anything else besides a bonus unit, and hopefully I'll get a Flame. We're gonna ignore Legendary Alm because I really don't need any more of those. And let's see. For blue, you get Legendary Dimitri. Dimitri comes with a whole slew of firepower. And then there's that Tempest of his. That could be very handy for Lith, actually. We could actually make Lith into a murderer. And then they might not actually will expect that. So I might look into doing that. Yes. Because Open the Future is actually a very potent skill. But then again, Lith is not player-face oriented. Must we make him? I have to consider how to actually do that, though. I apologize that my analysis had a lot of rambling while I think to myself as to what to do with my units and how to build them. I mean, perhaps you can make use of it, you can learn from me, or perhaps you don't, and it's just a whole bunch of senseless things, in which case I apologize. But let me finish with this. Catherine is a strong unit, but that's pretty much it. There's nothing that she does that other people haven't done. Still, having a good player phase attacker might be decent. Team up with the likes of Dimitri. But then again, Dimitri's Tempest has another use. I just thought about it. And it's that I think Flyers can also get that. So maybe I can slap that onto Mirabilis and more when I summon for her later. Yes. Anyway, in terms of green, Dick Hole, we can leave Dick Hole alone. We don't give a shit about him. Basir is good. And then there is Yoon. Yoon is kind of outdated at this point, which is kind of sad because I actually like Yoon, but yeah. Besides giving speed blessing, I haven't put her to much use. I suppose there's debuffs all over the place. But now that debuff is a bit of a liability. Thank you, attack res unity. Thank you, attack dev unity. Thank you, brain damage brain damage fallen bike. Thank you all for doing the bad things to my debuffs. I mean, as if Idun and what's her face isn't bad enough. I can't remember her face. What was her name? Jesus Christ. She uses Finboot Fitter, but I can't remember her name. She's got big boobs. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about, so it doesn't matter. So, green is silly. Probably will not touch green, even though I do want Thrasir. I may have to wait for another opportunity. But definitely I will do colorless. And blue, although I have no use for Legendary Julia. That's the problem. What am I going to use Legendary Julia for? Fallen Julia surpasses her by far. And Legendary itself is not a good status to be in, because then you're kind of at a whim of seasons. I always hated that, by the way. So, red is not all that great either. This, I mean, let's just forget about Roy. Racist Roy is no good. Lif is questionable. I have 3 copies of him, but I don't want to merge him because I might need his time pulse or something else. I find him kind of questionable. I don't know if I'm ever going to use him on the fighting. But teamed up with Seiros, he might be pretty decent, because then he can really put his stats to use. Yeah, I'll probably focus on blue and colorless, but we can talk about that when I summon. In any case, I think that's pretty much it for my little rant discussion of Saint Seiros and her banner. I thank you all for listening to me thus far. Until next time.